anything like that.
Listen,
I'm just saying. You know.
I played
What's up?
87 yesterday, pal.
Whoa. Well, excuse me. Now you just walked yourself into a money bet. Oh, you can't say something like that. Like, yeah, no, I'm good. I just
107.
I just want a cigar. I just want a cigar.
I want more seltzers.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm Pete Colasano, joined, as always, by my friend Scott Bracey, who just shot an 87. What's going on, dude?
Good afternoon, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, and I think I just froze up. No, I'm doing okay.
Nope,
there it
good,
goes.
You're good. There you
I
go.
got a little notification. We were just saying how we're going golfing together on Sunday, and you spewed how you just recently. I mean, I was mentioning maybe we'll throw a couple beans or do some kind of. They throw the word Nassau around. I have no idea what that even means. All these years of playing golf, I don't even know what that means. Maybe I'll look it up.
I never even heard of it.
But I thought maybe we could put some money on it. And you're like, I don't know. But I did shoot an 87 the other day. Excuse me.
Well, putter was working. If the putter doesn't work, it's a 99. So
I have to say, the last time we played together,
yeah,
you couldn't find a fairway if it would have got you $1,000 a shot.
Right.
But we shot almost the same score because from like 75 yards in, you were bananas. You were just out of your mind. So I have no doubt that your recovery game is quite good. Quite good. Speaking of golf, we really didn't talk about it last week, which is our fault.
Yes.
Maybe my fault, but I will blame you, of course, because you had so many other things you wanted to talk about. But U.S. Open went down, and it was a winner on multiple levels. It had everything. Of all the things we ever talk about that we want in a golf tournament, we pretty much got it. Like you name what you want in a golf tournament, and we got it. Like it was awesome. So. And of course, John Rahm, our big winner for the week. I called this one. I called it a little late. I didn't call it early in the week, but I called and I said, man, the guy got screwed. I don't know if he got screwed. Maybe that's not the right word. But
unfortunately disqualified.
Yeah, things didn't go his way. Yeah. And it's part of the game. He didn't get screwed because nothing was done wrong to him, but it just sucked being 6 shots ahead going into Sunday, and he gets banged out for COVID.
Yanked.
But yeah, so he had his opportunity here, and there was something about that coming into this, and then it's Father's Day weekend, and he's like been a dad for about a week. And
doesn't it feel like that happens often?
It does, and that's why I think that's why I was kind of feeling that a little bit for him.
Did you tear up? Did the Pete Colasano tears happen?
Oh, dude, always. Forget about it. Yeah, forget about it.
You're not even Irish. What a mushball you are.
Oh, it's dude. Don't get carried away, though. I could cry at a commercial if it's the right freaking commercial. So, like,
no, I hear you.
I'm a mess all the time. I'm
those Super Bowl Anheuser-Busch with the
horses. Forget it. Oh my God. I'll be right back.
I need another bourbon and a tissue.
I love the one insurance commercial where she's singing a song and the one dude is like crying and she's like, "Are you crying?" He's like, "No, it's pollen."
Oh, it's the Lisa Loeb stay. Yeah.
That's I'm like, I got something in my eye. I'll be right back, guys.
Lisa, less emotion.
So yeah, of course I was emotional, and it was great. And oh, by the way, okay, so as always, as I've said to you last time, there's almost always 2 stars in every golf tournament, and the first star usually you find on Thursday into Friday is the course.
Right.
And absolutely Torrey Pines was a star this weekend. Like perfect conditions, like everything was as it should be.
Yeah.
But yet incredibly difficult, worthy of being called a US Open for sure. What was Rahm's winning score? Was he 5 or 6 under?
Minus 6. Yeah, nobody coming at minus 19 or something.
Yeah, we talked about this, like a U.S. Open, somewhere between like 3 and 7. Like, I don't want it to go much above that. And frankly, when you get them down to like even or +1 or -1, I don't know. I want to see
that's almost too tough.
They're pros, and I want to see some birdies. I don't want to see it so difficult that it's just survive. I want to see some birdies, but I want to see them few and far between. And when you get them, it means something. Like it's supposed to be hard. And this Torrey Pines is all that.
Is that the big ziti in the oven again, or what do we got going on?
No, that was somebody crazy enough to call during the podcast. You should be watching right now. You should be watching
them anymore. Holy Christ.
By the way, this episode number 22 dedicated to Rich Davila. All love, all the love for Big Rich, all the love for Big Rich.
What a sweetheart.
So the course was absolutely the star in the beginning of this.
What did you think of those guys in the parachutes on the edge?
There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. It's public land, California.
No, but I think some of them were guys that work for the network that were filming it.
Well, if that's the case, then
dude, that's
pretty unbelievable.
You don't think that's distracting those guys in a tee shot with those?
I don't know. You know what? I don't know. I don't.
But not.
I don't think so, because once you get your line, you're looking at the ball. Like you get your line on the pin or where you're aiming at, but then when you go to swing, your eyes are on the ball. So I'm thinking no. Although the week before, Phil had made some noise about a drone that was a network drone. He was like, "Can you get the drone out of the way?" Now that may have been because the drone was too close to the goddamn hole. I think he said it was in his ball line or something. So, they moved it. I don't know, but I didn't make a big deal. It is a little weird.
It's a little weird. It took me a little bit to get used to it. I'm like, what the hell's going on out there?
Yeah, I didn't know it had anything to do with like any of the network stuff or any of that people working, but it is a little odd.
I guess they had maybe a camera on their helmet or whatever it was, and then and then who was doing the Dan Hicks or it was Azinger and he was like, "Oh, I wonder if they go up and down." All of a sudden, the guy was going up and down, like, "Oh, he could hear us!" Like,
was that guy, or was that one of the drones?
No, it was a guy. It was a guy. Yeah.
But in general, the course was.
Yeah, it was.
That's
good.
Right where you want a US.
Yes.
That is a test, and here's why you know it was perfect. All you had to do is look at the leaderboard on like Saturday into Sunday. It was just name after. Oh my god! But there was name after name after name. Like it was just a who's who of the best golfers in the world. And on Sunday, the funny thing is there was a lot of crumbling that went on, and frankly, the right guy won. The one guy who didn't crumble, he had the best round of the day on Sunday. Shot a 67. Might have been the best round of the weekend, or at least for Saturday and Sunday was the best round.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody shot better than a 68 until he shot a 67. So I think it was probably the best round of the weekend.
So that's a good segue into my question to you. Is it more of John Rahm winning, or Louis and DeChambeau and Rory blowing it?
Well, we can talk about that, and I think Louis has had a history. Listen, that's a sixth time in a major that he's finished second since he won the Open Championship, like 10, 12, 13 years ago, whatever the hell.
I think it was almost 10 years to the day, I think, or something like that.
And it is what it is. I mean, I don't know that he blew it. And
he blew it, dude. At least got to a playoff. He puts a tee shot 17 into the friggin' snake pit, or whatever they called it.
But that shit happens. It happens.
But it always happens to him.
I know, and not only him is what I mean.
No, not only him.
It does happen to him often.
It happens to him a lot.
Only him. I mean, we watched Mickelson. He was in the lead in the U.S. Open, and he duffed one. We saw.
You don't talk about my lefty buddy like that, guy.
Listen, we saw Jim Furyk do it in the U.S. Open too, and he just like friggin' duck hooked one into the woods, like 120 yards out. Like it was just a disaster. I mean, it happens.
Norman's done it a ton in the British.
It's not. What I felt bad was on the 18th. I'm pretty sure it was the 18th, because he's thinking I got to get there in 2. They're trying to figure out a way, but you got to go over water. You can't just run. And he's just like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. Like I just can't make that shot. You're I think it was like 265 yards out. Maybe it was a little further than that.
He doesn't have
in the rough.
He doesn't have the firepower for that.
You don't have the firepower. You don't have the club, and you certainly don't have the club from the rough. So, and I'm just sitting there, and he's like, you could just see the look in his face. He didn't want to take a shot because he's like, I got to find a way to get there in 3, but I can't get there in 3, but I got to get there in 3. And he stood at that ball. It felt like a half an hour. It was probably 15 minutes, but it felt forever. And I just felt bad for him because you want to take a shot. You just want to take a shot.
Yeah, I just want to be. I want an opportunity to get.
But there's a difference between difficult and impossible. And my guess is that was impossible.
Or impossible and stupid, and then doing it anyway.
Well, dude, listen, possible and stupid, you probably take the shot because what's the difference? What, are you not going to come in second? Who gives a shit?
Yeah, who cares? Second.
So you get third, like fourth.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, you're not going to be remembered. But if you make a miracle shot, anyway, that's when I felt bad. But a lot of guys just melted. Henley in the lead. Gone.
Oh my god!
Like
so Saturday's round. It was Henley. What was the other guy's name from England? Bland or something like that.
Bland just melted over the course of 2 days.
So Bland was what, 7 over on Saturday.
But he's also like 47 years old.
Completely melted. Henley did that Sunday. I don't think he made it a birdie. Like I think he had 6 over. So
I think he ended up in the plus territory.
Yeah, we were texting. Oh, this guy's gonna fade, and he did quick.
Dude, Blandon is an amazing story, dude. He had over 500 starts on the European tour before he won a tournament. That's incredible.
Bro, he looked like Tin Cup with all the sponsors he had.
I know. Some of the stuff was like, what? I think one of them was like Wawa. And it was just like, what the hell?
His home course in England, like, paid him to wear the hat from the clubhouse.
And he's like, yeah, I don't have anybody else, so let's do it.
All right, I'll wear it.
I'll take $50.
Looks like a goose. I'll wear it.
Yeah. That's why I said it was Wawa, because that's like the Wawa logo. Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, no.
McIlroy. McIlroy was the first 6 holes. I think he was going to make a run. And
he kind of hung around, but I got to be honest with you, dude. This is McIlroy. That was prime McIlroy in majors lately. Like 3, 4, 5 years, however many years it's been. That's prime McIlroy. Get there, kind of hang around, but not happening.
Your boy Brooks was there for a minute, and then he.
Nope. Yeah.
I think that hurt him too because he teed off so much earlier than everybody else did.
Well, that's because you're further behind.
I get it, but I'm just saying, like, it's different when, like, you see when you're in the lead and you're behind, and you can see the scoreboard moving.
Yeah.
Like when you see the scoreboard currently moving, it's when you're in the clubhouse with a number, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, because he was kind of in it.
Yeah. At
the 14th hole, he was within a stroke or two, and then just the last 4 or 5 holes just.
Well, we didn't. I think we texted, or I was texting my buddy about. It got to a point where I think you're right. I think it was like early back 9 where him.
Here's what I think it was.
Him and Bryson were close.
I was just gonna say,
are we gonna get a playoff with these two guys? Like,
Bryson was on. DeChambeau was on like the 6th hole, and Brooks was Koepka was on like the 14th hole, and they were both at -3.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here we go.
Yeah.
And then they both talk about a meltdown. DeChambeau got as high as -5 and ended up in plus territory in the back 9. I think he was 8 over par in the back 9.
Now, is the U.S. Open a playoff, a full 18 the next day?
It used to be, but while it's funny you mention that. I'm listening to the I'm watching the telecast, and they said it would have been a 2-hole aggregate. So they would have played the 17th and 18th over, and whoever had the best score over those 2 holes would have won.
Oh,
I don't know why they did that.
Because I remember years back when Tiger and Rocco mediated the whole Monday. It was awesome.
Yes. Oh my god!
My buddies at work put it on the TV it was awesome.
Yeah. So no, they were gonna play like a 2-hole aggregate, which was interesting. I don't know if that has anything. I don't know why they were doing that. But you said, did everybody else lose? So yes, there were some meltdowns for sure. I wouldn't call Louis Oosthuizen a meltdown. I mean, he was 1 stroke lower. No, but he was 1 stroke lower than his best score. Like, he finished 1 stroke behind his high point. Like, I think his high point was -6, and he finished at -5 or 4. Like, it was close. I mean, a meltdown, like where you just are not in the hunt.
No, yeah. Maybe. But
so he didn't like just disappear. So did John Rahm win it? Yeah, did John Rahm win it? I can't speak English here.
That's tough.
Yeah, he won it because he birdied the 17th.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you got to give him credit for that.
You do.
No, I'm sorry. Didn't he? He eagled the 18th.
No, he did not. He birdied it.
It was a birdie
because he put the 1 shot in the sand, and then he played it back.
Yeah.
I thought he played it further back than he wanted to.
Yeah, I agree.
He drills the birdie. And we're like, oh, maybe not. Like,
so he goes birdie 17 and 18. That's a win. Yeah, that's a win.
That's off. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. See, like Matsuyama survived in the Masters.
Good point.
where John Rahm was behind, and he went birdie, and then the other guys had to play against his score, and that wasn't enough. So that's not his fault.
I'm happy for him. I like him. Yeah. He says the right things, and then he handled himself well with the whole COVID elimination.
He's matured a little too. I mean, he's a fiery dude.
Yeah, he's Spaniard, and he's
very emotional, but he's controlled that emotion a lot more than he used to, and that's the only way you're going to win a major, especially the U.S. Open.
Absolutely. You got to stay poised.
Coming off that last event where he kind of, it just the COVID thing. I agree. I'm happy for him. Just had the kid. Things are going great, and that's cool stuff.
And he's got the game to win a bunch of these things. He's got.
There's no doubt about it. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Doesn't he have the backswing? Like, he's so quick coming through, and he drills a damn ball. Like, I don't know how. Oh,
well, dude, he's like 270 pounds. I don't know if that's accurate, but he's
a
big, thick dude.
Yeah, he's fluffy.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I think that's why a lot of us like John Rahm, Phil Mickelson, John Daly. Like we like watching some of these guys. Not that we don't like the Tigers but we really like watching these guys.
Yeah, like Brooks, like me. Like Brooks and Bryson, I'm not in that realm of juiciness,
musculature.
Yeah.
You just look at that and you're like, that's different. Even McIlroy, because for a shorter dude, he's put together. A Tiger, obviously, he was training with Navy SEALs while he's playing golf. Like, it's just a different world, right? But you see a Mickelson, who we talk about like he's in the best shape of his life, dude. He's still gooey around the waist. Like,
he still has the boobies going on.
He's still a regular guy. I said, John Daly. We love hearing like some cigarette smoking, beer guzzling, fat, weird looking guy winning the U.S. Open or winning the PGA Championship. We love that stuff.
Parked in front of Hooters for the weekend. Like, what do you do?
Because you just think you're like, that could be me, right? I could do that.
I'll go for some wings.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool, and it's really good for him. But I agree with you. The difference from him and those other guys is he's got not like a Phil Mickelson, but I mean, like, he's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of power, but he does have finesse around the greens, man. He's a very good putter. He is a very good putter, and that is how you win championships. Assuming the rest of your game is together, you need to putt to win champion. You putt for dough. So great job by him, and it was an awesome watch. The course, the announcing was great, the play was great, and he was great, and it was just awesome.
By the way, a happy late Father's Day to you, pal. And
thank you.
I was by my brother's for Father's Day, and we were watching the Yankees, and his girlfriend was over the house, and I'm like, yeah, I can't wait for this game then to put the golf on. She goes, you guys watch golf? And me and my brother were like, oh, yeah, see ya. The door's that way.
So we talked about it before. I think golf is the kind of game where you can't enjoy watching it until you've played around. I really do believe that.
I think that's fair, because I think that's what I was as a kid. Like,
it looks pretty easy. Like we just said, you got a handful of guys now that are just like kind of mushy and gooey and don't look like athletes. So when they do certain things with a golf ball, you're like, how hard can that be?
Well, before Tiger Woods, they all look like that.
This is what I'm saying. Jack Nicklaus was doughy,
Palmer.
Well, Palmer was in a little better shape Palmer was actually in really good shape when he was in his prime.
Yeah.
Jack was always thick around the midsection.
Oh, was he? I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, he always was. So, I mean, Gary Player was always in great shape, but somebody's got.
Yeah,
it's just the idea of like you see a guy like that.
80 years old, it'll take us to the woodshed.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Oh.
But you see guys like that, and you're like, how hard can this be? And then you go play, and you're like, oh my God, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Absolutely.
Like, it's the hardest thing me personally, as far as sports goes, it's the toughest sport I've ever played in my life.
And especially if you're a baseball player in your day, it takes you years to get that baseball swing.
Bananas. Like I say to people all the time, I can still throw a football 50 yards, and when I throw it, it looks like what you see in TV. It just looks like that. I can't do it the way they do it, but it looks like that.
Yeah.
I can hit an NBA three-pointer right now. Like I can do that. I can't do like any of the things and I'm a half decent like hacker, golf, Sunday golfer, if you want to say. I can't do any of those things between the spin and the curving the ball. I just, especially around the green, their touch around the green and their ability to putt. It's insane. It's really insane, dude.
Who was it? I'm not going to get the golfer right. So I'm not even going to guess who it was. But there was somebody that went like 60-something rounds without 3-putting.
Oh.
Like
rounds or you mean like days?
Like days. So like what's all that? That's like 12 rounds or whatever. 13,
I don't know.
rounds. Like, dude, that's
crazy.
Insane.
And I was listening. This was a couple weeks ago. I'm listening to the broadcast, and 2 putts were right in line with each other. So the first guy goes, and the second guy gets a nice read off that.
Yep.
And he, of course, drains his putt. And the announcer was like, "This is the difference with a pro. If you give a pro a clean read, they're gonna make any putt 9 out of 10 times. Like amazing. It doesn't matter like how much curve. I mean, within reason, obviously. If it's a 10-foot curve, that's tough.
Yeah.
But within like a 4-foot, 5-foot curve bend on that thing, if they get a read on it, they just get to see someone else do it first. They're gonna make the putt 9 out of 10 times. Like you've played in scrambles, and we all hit the same putt, and 9 out of 10 times nobody makes the putt.
It all goes different directions.
It's like nobody's making it. So it's amazing, and that's around the green. I know we all think of like the distance off the tee, and that's true. Some of that's equipment, some of that's technique, some of that is we could all learn and become better at driving the ball for distance with coaching and training and equipment and time and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Yep.
The stuff they do around the green is, I'm just telling you, it's magical. It's just magical.
It is. You're right. But it was a great weekend. Great. Congrats, John Rahm.
Yeah.
And great course. And they deserve another U.S. Open. 100%.
Oh, they'll get it. Yeah, and it won't take them. It won't take 10,
12 years,
or 8, 9 years, whatever the hell it was, or however many, 13 years. I don't know. You mentioned the Yankees, and this is one of the things that everybody looks forward to every week. We don't get it every week because baseball is the kind of sport that we kind of let it go. We say, well, we don't want to judge too often because there's a lot of games. But it's been a couple weeks now, and last week you were hesitant to mention anything about the the rocking back. He's so your thoughts on the Yankees? The state of the union, state of the Yankees right now. So
our buddy Mike, who really cheers on for the Yankee rants, I'm going to disappoint him. He's not going to get one. At least I'm hoping. I'm going to hope not go that route because I don't think they deserve it as of now.
Okay,
they've won 7 out of 9. The bats are starting to wake up a little bit, and I think I mentioned this in my last rant because we said they're going to hit eventually. They're all going to play back to the baseball card at some point. But now the starting pitching's starting to take a shit, which I get though. Their pitching's been good. Yeah. It happens, and I get that. And you could out hit some of that because they've done that for years. They've done that. But my main concern right now is Chapman in the closing role.
He blew it again the other day, right?
He was phenomenal for 2 months, and for the last 2 weeks he's been horrible. And now I don't know if the sticky stuff has something to do with it because I know they're checking everybody. He still has 102 on the gun. He threw a 102-mile-an-hour lawn dart yesterday. It was probably about 55 feet. Gary, who gets criticized for everything, picks one out. It was an amazing stab. And then he goes to throw, walk, bunt single, swinging bunt single hit. And on the other on Sunday, Father's Day, throws 1 strike to 9 balls and gets a freaking triple play to end the game. You want to talk about getting your he's smiling, he's sweating, he's shaking, he's kissing babies. He's like, you want to talk about getting saved? Like, that's the kind of luck now that the Yankees are in. They're getting a triple play to end a game when your closer can't find his strike zone. Listen, I'll take it.
It's crazy, right?
It's nuts, man. And
what's going on there? Is it just this? Is it just the spider tack kind of thing? Like
I think
it was 100 miles an hour.
I think he's a little banged up. I think he might be sore. I don't know what's going on. A 10-day stint on the IL, maybe to rest might not hurt. I don't know. Something's up.
Have they used him that much? Is that the problem?
Well, it goes like this with the Yankees. They use him like 6 out of 7. Then he doesn't pitch for a week because they suck. And then they pitch him 5 out of 6 again.
Well, grow up.
But they're doing again, you're right. He's a veteran guy. He's built like a brick shit house.
Yeah.
And they don't use him 2 innings in a row. You're pitching 1 inning, dude. Would you love your job to be 22 pitches a night? I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, hook a guy up, man.
So I think there's something going on. Maybe get him checked out, sit him 10 days or whatever. Maybe you get on a win streak and you don't even have to use him. Just get him work, like throw him before the game, get him some bullpen work with a trainer.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Something's got to be checked out.
This is the most prominent team in Major League Baseball history, and you can't figure out how to get some kind of work schedule down for your freaking closer?
Pete, if you haven't noticed, this isn't exactly 1998 Yankees. Things are a lot different now than they used to be.
I get that, but come on, man. You're telling me that he gets overworked when they win and he gets underworked when they lose. You're the friggin' Yankees. Can you figure it out?
Well, Mariano was the same way. They did the same thing with Mariano.
And it wasn't a problem.
And that's too – well, Mariano's an all-time great. 100% Hall of Fame votes, bro. The whole world knows he was different.
I understand that. I'm not expecting him to be Mariano, but I just would like him to be kind of a grown-up here, like a professional. And my point is actually not him saying to the Yankees.
I get what you're saying.
The problem is he's not getting enough work when you're not playing well. Then get him some work.
Well, I agree. I know what you're saying. You think they would have a process now?
Come on, we're discussing it on a stupid podcast. This kind of discussion must be going on in coaches meetings and GM coach meetings. They do this shit every day. This is their job. It's not like me where they're teaching all day and then they go coach some 10-year-olds. Like, this is all you do. Figure the shit out.
I get it, but they haven't yet. They haven't yet, and it's
embarrassing.
Listen, no bullshit. If they're gonna win, if they're gonna do anything this year, you need the guy. So you better figure it out now before it turns into a shoulder, an elbow, something. Because 102 is great, but if you don't know where it's going,
that's a problem.
Yeah,
that could also lead to murder.
I was gonna say, you don't kill somebody with this.
Jesus Christ.
So no Yankee rant yet. Tune in maybe next week when they go 1 for 5. When they go 1
maybe
for 5
I ranted a little more. Yeah, I might have ranted more than you.
Join the parade. How's it feel? 1 is fine, man.
To me, it's more of like just a professional rant. Like, you can't figure this shit out. Yeah, how to get your guy some work? Come on, this is not new.
Well, throwing in the bullpen before a game isn't exactly a safe situation either.
I don't even know if it's just in the bullpen, dude. Not for anything. If you haven't used them in 3 days, the only times to pitch aren't just during games. Like, you can work. Hey, you know what? You haven't pitched in 3 days. The game's over. Everyone's going home for a steak dinner. You're going to stay here and just throw 50 fucking pitches. Like, come on.
Peter, you're talking about the king of the walking on eggshell Yankees. Oh, my God, we can't over you. Because this is what they're thinking. I'm telling you right now what they're thinking. We can't put him in now in the 8th inning on a 3-2 game because what if we go on a win streak and we need him for the next That's what you're thinking. You can't
think like that, dude. You have to win today.
Well, you can't think like that because you also have 11 other guys in the bullpen you could freaking use.
But I'm just saying, like, you can't think like that all the time. You have at some point you just gotta say we're gonna win today, especially if you're on a bit of a losing streak.
Listen, somebody get Cashman on the phone for us, and we'll give him a piece of our mind.
We gotta straighten this fucker out. I mean, he clearly hasn't been doing a good job. He's only been in the job for 20 years.
I mean, he traded for Stanton, for Christ's sake. But
that name might come up again later. It might come up again later.
All righty.
Let's transition here to the NBA before we get into like the playoffs. The Celtics have a new head coach. So does Detroit. This is like hot off the press. Rick Carlisle got hired by the Detroit Pistons. I don't like.
Oh, he did not. He got hired by the Indiana Pacers.
I heard Detroit Pistons. Go to your little smart box. I heard it was Detroit Pistons.
That could be a problem.
Anyway, while you're looking that up,
Pacers head coach.
I swear to God, I was watching all day.
You got your P's confused, bro.
I didn't. I'm telling you what I heard. They did. Whoever was telling me that.
The Pistons have a coach.
They were saying Detroit because Detroit has the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah, they do.
Anyway, I don't love that hire because it's just a very quick retread. I like Rick Carlisle, dude. He was in Dallas for 13 years, had 1 championship. I'm not in love with it.
He was a Pacer coach before he went to the Mavericks, wasn't he?
He was. Okay, so they kept saying Pistons. They must have had their P's wrong because they mentioned that he was the coach there before he was.
Yeah.
I said they just had the team wrong, but whatever. Okay, so that's why we're a team. Because I would have been saying Pistons the whole time, and meanwhile I would have looked like a total jackass. So
I'm Chapman for the save, bro.
Thanks, pal. You got your work in. But what I really wanted to get to was that the Celtics hired a new coach. And I'm going to try this because I'm not afraid. But Ime Udoka, I know it's Udoka, right? I think it's Ime Udoka.
I think you're pretty good there, buddy.
Okay, so my first reaction to this was, who the hell is that? Right? Because I never heard the name. I just never heard the name. I just don't know. What can I tell you? Apparently, I want to say 12 years in the league. Was never like a big time player, but that's often the case. You rarely do you have superstars that make good head coaches because their standards are to their standards, and that's not realistic for most players.
Just ask Larry Bird.
Yeah, Magic.
Yeah,
Isaiah. It rarely works. Dude.
Isaiah still hurts. It still hurts.
He's just so bad. He had high expectations and was bad. Larry Bird was actually a half decent head coach. Magic, you could just see from day one just the frustration in his face.
Yeah, it was not there.
Like, what's wrong with you losers? So my first reaction was, who the hell is this guy? But then you look, you read, you listen, has really good pedigree as far as his coaching pedigree. Came from San Antonio, was with Sixers, was with the Nets this year, so he's worked with superstars. The three main players for the Celtics gave the thumbs up. Who would that be? Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Smart. They were all like, let's do this. And from what I understand, it's because he was an assistant coach with I don't think it was the Olympic team. It might have been like the
World's team or something like that.
Pan-Am games. I don't know. One of those kind of things. And they really liked working with him. Has quite the reputation, and all the basketball people. And this is where I say, like, not my area of expertise. I'll tell you after 1 year what I think, but not my area. So I'll lean on others who know this. But great hire, great reputation. Apparently hard-nosed, no nonsense, will get in your face, but yet he's been a player, so kind of has the gravitas and players.
And he knows when to pull it and do it, and yeah.
So I'll ask. I wanted my first thing that I wanted to ask you was: is this a gamble? Is this a big gamble?
Yeah, I mean, sure it is, but I don't know where else they were leaning. I don't know what else. I don't know what. So they did something that you liked. They didn't stay in house. Stevens didn't pick an assistant,
right?
Which is what you thought was the right move. And I you know what?
Thought it was right to go outside.
Yes. Yeah. So yes. So after thinking about it for a couple of weeks, I agree with you. I think it was the right move to do that. Is it a risk? Yeah, but if your 3 stars sign off on it, you're kind of all in together. And now that's also
listen. 3 years from now, if you guys suck, it don't matter that they signed off on it. So
well, and listen, they might not all even be there in 3 years too. That's another thing.
True.
So let's see what Stevens does in the offseason. It's his first offseason as a front office guy too.
Already pulled off a big trade. I mean, I think the ink was dry. I don't think the ink was dry in his new contract, and he got rid of Kemba Walker, which that was fast. Jesus Christ!
What the hell's going on with point guards in Boston?
It makes you wonder about Brad Stevens, right?
Right.
Although I would not have said that after Kyrie, because Kyrie rubs everybody the wrong way, right? But Kemba Walker was like good guy, good teammate, good leader. That was my initial reaction when the Celtics got him. I'm like, good riddance to Irving. Great job bringing in Kemba Walker. I love it.
And I got to tell you, I don't think they got a lot for him either.
I don't think so. I looked at that trade and I was like, eesh, but you're also dumping a bad contract, so that's part
true.
of it.
And it might be addition by subtraction. Maybe a lot of the problems this year had to do with it. Who knows?
You got to see what else they end up doing.
Yeah.
But this hire, to me, it's a risk because they're the Celtics. Okay? So there are some teams in this league that are just different. I would have said this about the Bulls even up to 10 years ago, but they've been so bad for so long, other than a couple years with Derrick Rose, that they're not even like a premier organization anymore. But there's the Lakers, there's the Celtics, there's the Heat, there's the 76ers, just because Philadelphia is a big town. There's the Detroit Pistons. You know, I guess you can put Golden State in there now. There's a handful of organizations where taking a risk on a first-time coach is a hell of a thing. Like, it's just a hell of a thing. But
well, you know
Brad Stevens was never a professional, an NBA coach. And, I don't think that was a failure. I think it went pretty well. It just didn't end in a championship.
When you talk about the Warriors, they took a chance with Steve Kerr, first-time head coach.
I agree. That's true.
Listen, it does happen.
It's a risk, though. If it didn't work, so you got rid of Mark Jackson, who built that team. I don't care what anybody says. Mark Jackson built that team and deserves way more credit than he got, because he was there when Clay and Steph were younglings.
Yeah.
So Kerr didn't build that team, and I mean it's just a risk, because if it didn't go well. Listen, it all turned out great, and it's easy to say great hire, but if it didn't, look, okay, so let's also recognize this in the NBA. Talent wins, period. End of friggin' conversation. We could talk about Rick Carlisle. That team has stunk talent-wise for quite a while. They've had not a lot of talent, okay? So you can look around the league and you say, who are the Phoenix Suns. A lot of talent, some of it young. CP3 adds to that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Milwaukee Bucks, they built that team mostly from the draft, a couple of trades, but they're very talented. Lakers, they were injured this year, but they won it last year. Why? Because they friggin' got two of the top 5-10 players in the league on the same team.
Yep.
So you go as far as your talent dictates, and when Kerr got there, those players were developed by Mark Jackson, but they were great players. And then you bring in KD, and Kerr's a genius. Really? Is Popovich still a genius? Because the guy can't even make the goddamn playoffs now.
Yep, you're right.
But he was the best coach in the history of the sport until he wasn't. Now it's like, Pop is old school. He doesn't understand modern players. No, he doesn't have talent. Like, there's no talent there. They're bereft of talent.
22-year-old Tim Duncan's not walking through that door.
Yeah, well, you think Steve Budenhogen or whatever the hell his name is at Milwaukee gets grief. Apparently, this poor bastard is still on the hot seat because they lose the first game against Atlanta, right? But Steve Nash, not on the hot seat, who just lost to him, and you got the three of the top 10 players in the entire goddamn league. What, Steve Nash is great? Stop it.
No.
Just stop it. The NBA, more than any other sport, is driven by not just by talent overall, but really by premier talent, star power.
Yeah. Yep.
You could have stars in the NFL and suck. I mean, you can.
Absolutely.
Because it really is so. All those positions in the NFL are so codependent on each other. You could have the best quarterback, and if your line sucks, you suck.
Texans last year, prime example.
Absolutely. There's just no doubt about it. But in the NBA is so star-driven, and if you don't have stars, you're not going to win. And we talked about this with the Celtics. Jason Tatum is a rising star, decent star, whatever you want to call him. But the reality is, he's often in the playoffs, the second best star on the court, and it's a struggle for them. So is this guy, is Ime Udoka going to make that any different? I don't know. Yeah. They're going to have to make some personnel changes.
Yeah, they need a point guard.
So
for starters,
they need a ball handler. I don't know what kind of moves are out there.
Unless they were talking about making Marcus Smart the point guard. I don't know if that's the right move or not, but
he kind of is a point guard. Yeah, he often plays point guard. But anyway, the rest of the NBA to me right now is very interesting. Playoffs have been phenomenal. I just mentioned how Atlanta goes into Milwaukee. This Atlanta team is without a doubt. I know the Suns are super interesting. I actually think the Suns are the best team still left in the playoffs. I think they're the healthiest, and they look the best.
Be careful what you say. You said that about the Nets before, and then they lost.
Well, I don't care if the Suns lose. So I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. I'm not telling you what may come. I just think they're the most complete, best team, best led, CP3. But I'll be damned if Atlanta isn't the most interesting team in the league. I can't name 4 players on this team. Trae Young... What can you say, man? I'm astonished.
You want to talk about Tatum rising star? This guy is oh my god!
And it's all in the playoffs, it's so interesting because his 3-point shooting is actually poor, but it's when he makes threes.
He's struggling.
It's when he gets assists. It's when he makes baskets. Like,
it's funny we say struggling.
It's the difference between a great player and a great guy who has great stats, right?
Right. Yeah.
There's a difference between Trae Young and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And the difference is one guy shows up every goddamn time in the last 5 minutes of the game, and one guy is almost never there in the last 5 minutes of the game. And it's not who you think. It's the opposite of what you would think for a two-time league MVP. Right? One guy, we got a guy who's 6'10", handles the ball, and Ben Simmons, who either they use for screens or they don't even have him in the game in the last 5 minutes. And then you have another guy who's 5'11", shoots 35% from three, who can't be stopped in the last 5 minutes.
Who's got bonkers. Onions.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I mean. This is the difference between the guy, and a really good player.
So you brought up Simmons and the Sixers. Dude, you're down there in that neck of the woods. What's going on? What's the sports talk? What's our buddy Josh Henning talking about the Sixers?
Overreaction, of course.
Is Simmons,
trade him immediately.
I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Why would you want to trade him right now? You're going to get pennies on the dollar. Dude, you're not going to get anything worth.
And Philly fans nuts. You hearing the names that they want? Damian Lillard. Why would the Blazers do that? Dude.
I actually heard today a viable trade for Kyrie Irving. Why? And I hate Kyrie Irving. I would never want him on my team. Why would I want Ben Simmons?
Oh, dude.
If you're the Nets, why on earth? Ben Simmons doesn't fit in the league today. He just doesn't fit in the league today. Now, I've defended him in the sense of he does things at 6'10" that are really unbelievable. He's a tremendous defender, can rebound as a point guard, great court vision, sets up angles for players, sets guys up. Dude, you can't shoot like 35% from the foul line. And okay, so here's the thing.
Not only that, you're afraid to shoot the ball in general.
But what's worse is he's a max contract player. So he's making like $35 million, eating up cap space.
Oh.
And you can't even be on the court in the last 3, 4, 5 minutes. That's the problem. If Ben Simmons was who he is, making $15 million, it'd be like, that's who he is. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's Rondo. Like he's Rajon Rondo without the leadership and 6 inches taller.
At $25 more million.
At $25 more million. That's the freaking problem.
Wow.
Like, so, but the overreaction is so stupid because what do you think? Dude, who would want him right now? What Philly has to do is you have to, convince this guy to put in some work. He does not have to be. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. More than anybody else living down there. Work ethic's good. He's a hard worker. What the hell does he do? What does he do all summer then?
That's not true. I'm starting to find out the work ethic thing. Not true.
Okay. All right.
Like he gets coddled.
What the hell is he doing?
Listen, the guy's been 6 foot. He was 6'8" at 13 years old. So he's been babied for 10 years now.
Jesus Christ.
Nobody wants to offend him because he's a gravy train for too many people, right? So nobody wants to offend him. And nobody wants to push him. I don't think Doc Rivers is that guy. I think Doc Rivers is the kind of guy that will push him. And he needs to be pushed. Now, the other side of it is he doesn't have to become Steph Curry.
Right.
He just has to become competent. He just has to become somebody that you need to guard. Luka Doncic shoots like 34% from three. But two things. He makes them sometimes, and he makes them in streaks, and he makes them near the end of the game, and he takes them. So you have to guard him.
Yep.
We're watching guys guard Ben Simmons at the foul line as he's crossing.
Like you're goofing with him, like shoot it, bro. Like,
dude, you're begging him to shoot it. I mean, even Rajon Rondo. I'm saying he's Rondo. Rondo the other night, I'm watching the game, and he hit a couple back-to-back threes to get the Clippers right back in the game.
Yep.
So like, it's not even fair to call him Rondo. It's like Rondo 5-10 years ago.
I have a question for you. Today, would you rather have Simmons or Julius Randle?
Oh, come on.
Randle,
of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Of course. I mean,
but isn't that nuts?
But who would say that? Who would make that trade? I honestly, I don't know who you're going to pull a trade off of. What you need to do is you need to get this guy to shoot somewhere between 30 and 35%, which is not great, but it's something that At 33% from the 3-point line, he needs to be guarded. And then if he has to be guarded, then now he can actually go by somebody and create. Defenders are so far off of him, he can't even go by anybody to create. And then the other side of it is he has to be at least a 65% foul shooter. The other night, dude, he goes baseline, and who's coming at him? 6 foot Trae Young, 5'11".
Yeah.
And he dishes off. He could have dunked it, and he dished off. I'm like, why? Because he doesn't want to go to the foul line. He doesn't want to go to the foul line, especially in crunch time.
The Luka comparison you made is perfect.
$35 million a year, maybe more. I don't know what the hell the number is.
To pass the ball.
Who went 2 for 4 in a losing effort in Game 7. You can't have that. You just can't have that.
And you got the redhead Ben Herter throwing up 27 or whatever he had.
Red velvet, baby.
Oh
Red
my
velvet.
God!
All right, go ahead, make your Luka point.
No, I'm gonna piggyback on you. The Luka point is perfect because, dude, 35%. You make him sometimes, but he does so much other things like Ben does.
Yes,
but you just have to give.
Sometimes you just have to chuck it up there, dude.
You gotta lock him. You gotta lock him in a gym till September. You gotta have this guy. It's insane.
He doesn't have to become Kyrie Irving. He doesn't have to become Kevin Durant.
Right.
Steph. I mean, I'm trying to think of taller guys. He doesn't have to become. Dude, be like Giannis.
Like Dirk.
Well, even Dirk was a pretty good 3-point shooter. Like, be like Giannis. Giannis is not a great 3-point shooter, but he probably shoots.
No, I'm saying you don't need to become Dirk because you're 6'10". You just gotta be like,
be Giannis.
Yeah,
and take 3 a game, make 1, but now they have to defend you, which opens up the middle of the court,
and then opens up all the other things you want to do: drive and dish and kick and pump.
Now
everything.
I'm gonna go a little further. If you can get him to do that in the first month of the season, now you trade him.
Yeah.
Now you make the move.
I agree with you.
They had an opportunity. I talked about it. I don't know if you and I talked about it, but I think this is maybe a little over a year ago. There was talk about a Ben Simmons for Chris Paul trade. And I said, it works for both teams.
I did not hear that one.
This was back, I might even say like kind of beginning of last year.
Like after the bubble or before the pandemic?
Before the season started. Yeah.
Okay.
I said, do it because Ben Simmons is still, dude, the guy's still 24 years old. That's what I'm saying. Be careful about who you want to give up on. Okay. Jason Kidd didn't shoot 40% from 3 until he was the 13th year in the league. So slow down just a little bit with the trade talk. But that trade made sense to me because Philly is and was a team on the cusp of a championship. Could you see what Chris Paul would do on the 76ers right now?
Oh, my God.
He'd be an amazing fit. Oh. And Ben Simmons would have gone to Oklahoma City, who is an incredibly young team loaded with draft picks. And he could have grown, and no one would have complained, and he could have worked on his shot over the next 3, 4, 5 years. And the money was actually comparable. It would have been a good move, but you can't give up on Simmons. And now I'm going to tell you can't give up on Simmons because you're not going to get fair value. At the time that's pretty good value getting Chris Paul. Yeah. Right now, you'd be lucky to get a bag of practice balls, so you can't do it.
So that's a good point with him going to Oklahoma City, kind of vanishing, working on his game, because that's on Markelle Fultz when they traded him to the Magic. Now he's got a pretty good game.
No pressure. There's no pressure there.
Nobody cared. No.
And it would have been a good fit it would have been good for everybody.
He's not making $35 million either. That's
dude, it's just a disaster. So that's what I would do. I would, Doc Rivers, I'm certain, because he's a hard-nosed dude. He's not going to pussyfoot around Ben. You got to get him competent. You don't have to get him to be great. You got to get him competent. You got to get him to a point where first of all, you got to get him to a point where he's willing to take the shot.
Right.
Then you got to get him to a point where it's competent. Because then because the reality is, if you can get defenders to guard him, the talent that he has, the other aspects of his game are friggin' amazing at 6'10". Like,
yep.
I mean, he's legit unbelievable in everything else except shooting. And it's miserable in shooting.
And then we talk about this every week lately. It's a shooter's league, man. That's what it is.
It just is what it is. Not for anything. There's never been a time in the league where you can be this bad. I don't care who the point guard was, Dennis Johnson for the Celtics. Like, there's never been a time where you could be this bad as a shooter. And not only as a shooter, you're definitely afraid to get fouled because you don't want to go to foul. It's pathetic.
It's frightening.
It can't be like that. Yeah, it just can't be like that. So,
so we talked about, Jazz lost in 6.
I was stunned at that. I got to be honest with you.
And dude, Paul George stepped up pretty well. Like we were worried about him stepping up.
I was also stunned at that.
And now we're struggling the first 2 games in the series now.
Exactly.
This guy, man, is, and you might hear from me later about Mr. Paul George.
You may hear that name again later. That's for sure. Hey, listen, before we go any further, because we mentioned these 2 names, Trae Young and Luka, something came up today in Sports Talk, and this is another one of those. I didn't even tell you about this. That's why I wanted to get your raw reaction from it. This is another situation where I had an instant reaction, and then when I thought about it, I'm like, So the question is comparing Trae Young and Luka. And the reason that they were comparing him is fair because Trae Young was actually either drafted by or his pick was Dallas, and Dallas gave up a shit ton to Atlanta. And so Atlanta got Trae Young, but another guy that they got that we don't talk about because he's injured right now is Cam Reddish.
From Duke? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So was a really good college player. We don't know much because he's been injured so much. So if it was like a who got the better deal here, so there's 2 ways of looking at it. Who got the better deal? And then who would you take right now? If you could take either one, who would you take? So who got the better deal?
Well, what did Dallas give up? They gave up 2 first-round picks to move up. Well,
they gave up the Trae Young pick, and then they gave up another pick that turned into Cam Reddish.
So I don't know if this is going to make any sense coming out of my mouth, but in my brain it does. So I think Luke is the better player, but the Hawks got a very, very good player, maybe future star the way it's looking right now, and then another first-round talent in Reddish. Like you said, we don't know what he is, but
don't know yet.
We don't know yet. But I tell you, what are human beings like? Like what their eyeballs? They like seeing live action, and we're seeing Trae Young right now, and we're not seeing Luka right now. So a lot of people might fall in love with Trae Young and what he's doing, but I think Luka's the better player.
Yeah, so that's why I put it in the idea like who's better? Like who's better, and who would you rather have? Okay, so if you're asking me who I'd rather have, like if I could redraft. If we're going to do a draft right now and those 2 guys are available, I think I'm still taking Luka.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me who's better right now, I can't believe I'm saying this because I've never been a fan. I've never been a fan, but he's been unbelievable, not just statistically. Dude, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, and this is his first playoff run, and he's scoring 30 friggin' points a game and clutch as shit. It's Trae Young at 5'11". Like,
I know.
How many times can we say, I just can't see them going any further?
I think we have to stop saying it.
I think you got to stop saying it. And again, there's a difference between your statistics and then the player you are. And that's the difference between, I don't know, Kobe and Jordan and say like, KD or Harden or something like
Paul Pierce or
a Kobe and Jordan and a Paul Pierce, they can go 2 for 15 from the field. They don't hesitate for a friggin' second to take that game-winning shot.
Nothing.
And that's Trae Young. I mean, statistically, he's not a very good three-point shooter. But nobody, not an Atlanta fan, wants him taking a three-pointer at the end of the game. If you're the opposing team, you don't want him taking a three-pointer at the end of the game because he's money. He's free money, right? This is the difference. It's that killer instinct. It's that gamer. He's 5'11", and you can't stop him. Now, the one thing I will tell you is you're going to have to, Allen Iverson is the one guy you can look at and didn't win a championship. You're going to have a hard time building your team around a guy who's 5'11", 6 feet tall as your number one option. This is the problem.
That's
and
true.
This is why I say if I had to pick one of the 2, I'd still take Luka because the upside is unbelievable. But, boy, what I'm seeing from Trae Young it's goddamn amazing, dude. And it's winning. That's the point.
Right.
Luka carried his team against the Clippers. It was pretty much Luka versus the Clippers. but they lost. In the end, they lost.
So
in the end, the Hawks are winning. They're winning.
I heard today somewhere that I've lost my train of thought. What the hell was I going to say?
Well, let me say this while you're thinking about it.
Yeah, please.
I cannot put an argument together for how the Hawks, like an argument saying like a strategy, we'll say, of how the Hawks beat the Bucks in this series. Like in a 7-game series, I can't make an argument for Atlanta.
I know. I agree.
You ask me who's going to win a series, I'm like, I don't know. Like I really don't. Like I can't make an argument for Atlanta, but I wouldn't be surprised if they won the series. That's crazy. And that's Trae Young. That's a Trae Young effect, which is bananas because the guy's he's a mighty mouse.
I know what I was going to say. So I heard today.
I talked you right into it.
Thank you, Steve. That's why you're a team. Good teammate. I heard today somewhere that they said that Trae Young's never been coached, and when Nate McMillan got there and got the job, he's on his ass. Like, you're not taking those 40-foot threes for no reason. Like, we got a system here, blah blah. And listen, and you know these 21-year-old guys, it could go many different ways. But
yeah,
Young bought in, the whole team bought in, and and that's what you brought up Popovich before. Why was Popovich and the Spurs so good? Because Duncan allowed him to yell at him and coach him. You coach your star, you're going to be all right as a group. Brady's the same way in football. I'm not saying Trae Young's on that level yet, but if you have a new coach coming in and when a guy got fired mid-season and they're like 35-14 or something stupid since McMillan's got the job.
Yeah. Well, what's fascinating about what you're saying is if you look at the 4 teams that are left in the playoffs, 3 of them have 3 of those teams have coaches who are former real players in the NBA.
Right. Like
they were real players. They weren't just like bench guys who paid attention, like the backup catcher who becomes a great manager in baseball. Yeah. Like you got Monty Williams.
Monty Williams from the Suns, Quinn Snyder from the Quinn Snyder's gone. Clippers, Tyronn Lue. Yep.
And Nate McMillan.
Yeah.
3 guys who are former players, former winners, like players. They're real players. And I think the league is changing in that sense, in that, star players are tuning out guys who are just they might be great coaches. Like, I don't know. Coach K is a different example because he has such amazing accomplishments behind him that you would have to listen to him.
I'll give you a guy that I think that you liked back in the day. Lawrence Frank.
Brilliant basketball coach. Is not an option in this NBA.
No, that's what I mean.
Why the hell would you listen to Lawrence Frank? How many games did you win?
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe a Pat Riley still has that gravitas.
Spoelstra does. Spoelstra seems to have it.
Yeah, but for how long? And does he really? Let's be honest. They made it to the finals last year. They were the 6th seed.
Well, he's got Butler kind of reeled in, which is a win. I mean,
I guess, but they're not winning. You know what I'm saying? Like they
went to the finals last year. I mean, that's
I understand,
winning.
But my point is they were a 5 or 6 seed. They weren't, and that was in the Eastern Conference. And this year again, they're a 6th seed, and they get bounced in the first round. And so I just asked you, like, are they really listening to him? You look what Nate McMillan did. He turned a bad defensive team into a decent defensive team. Monty Williams turned a bad defensive team into a pretty good defensive team. Ty Lue, granted, they had a very good former basketball player as their coach, but it's just, you look around and it's interesting to say it simultaneously. You have a guy in Milwaukee, Budenholzer or whatever the hell. I always mess this poor guy's name up.
Yeah.
This is a 2-time NBA Coach of the Year.
And he's always on the hot seat, and he's coaching a bunch of maniacs over there.
This league has thought so highly of him. Twice he was awarded Coach of the Year, but he's such a moron that he's going to get fired after going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And the only reason I bring that up is because, I guess so, because players are tuning these kind of guys out. It's just
if they fire him, I wonder who's going to be on the top of the list, Jason Kidd.
Well, please no. But it's interesting if you look at who the hottest candidates are out there. Chauncey Billups, top of the list. Sam Cassell, top of the list. Like we named them a couple weeks ago.
Jason Kidd,
who I don't get it. But whatever, it's nobody's asking me other than you. The former player carries more weight right now to current players. So, but it's just fascinating to me. It doesn't mean they're great coaches. Nate McMillan has been not great. Monty Williams struggled.
Yeah.
But, Ty Lue's only wins were with LeBron. Yep. I'd be a good coach with LeBron too. But, it is what it is.
The league is nuts. The league is nuts right now.
So that's interesting. I had Steve Kerr made a statement. We mentioned Steve Kerr. He made a statement that drew blood today, and I don't know if you saw it or not.
I did not.
But he said that he believes that Kevin Durant, is a more gifted basketball player than even Michael Jordan. And once again, I had a visceral reaction, an instant reaction, and then I tried to think about it a little bit. So is Kevin Durant a more gifted basketball player than even Michael Jordan?
Well, I love that you brought that up because I have it written down here. Like Durant, just like I guess it's different seeing Durant with like Clay and Steph or whatever, and then watching what he did with the Nets team, carrying him on his back and almost doing it. Like he's freaking nasty.
Almost.
He's nasty. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
No, he's not Michael Jordan. He's not.
Is he more gifted?
He's not. No, he's not more gifted. Well, basketball-wise, gifted maybe.
Well, yeah.
He's 6'10", 6'11". He could shoot over everybody. But the heart, like you said, I know you made like a almost statement because you're right.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the heart. He doesn't have the. Not that he's a pansy ass by any means or whatever, but
no,
he doesn't have the grittiness or like the demeanor or the I'm gonna win at no cost like Jordan had. Athletically wise, maybe he's more.
He's not as athletic. He doesn't have the vertical leap. He doesn't have the explosiveness.
I know. Like I don't.
You made your point in the beginning where you say what he does at almost 7 feet tall it's unprecedented in the NBA. Like shooting threes, ball handling. There is some explosiveness there. Like, I guess what I mean is like the ability to get by somebody. Not for anything. On a defensive end, he averages like 2 blocks a game, which is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
Gifted is such a an interesting choice of words because I'll start with this. Let me just say this. Kevin Durant is not Michael Jordan. He's not better than Michael Jordan. He's not even close. In my opinion, he's not even close to Michael Jordan. Like if there was a draft, which is how I do my rankings. I always say, like, if I had to choose who I'd want, who would I'm picking Michael Jordan first. This is, to me, it's a no-brainer. But to do what he does at 7 feet tall, almost 7 feet tall, is pretty unbelievable. It is pretty unbelievable. And it's a gift. It is a gift to have that kind of handle, that kind of quickness, and to be able to do it at that height. It's pretty unbelievable. But he does not have the heart. He does not have the tenacity. He does not have the killer instinct. He does not have the singular focus. How about that? Does not have the singular focus that Michael Jordan had.
No.
I don't know that anybody did. Kobe was probably the closest that I can think of. Yeah. Although he wasn't anywhere near the player of Michael Jordan. I don't care what anybody says. He had that singular focus like that. Like he was just so driven for winning, right? But gifted is interesting because, what Michael did at 6'4", 6'5", he did better than anybody ever did at 6'5", and better than anybody did anywhere. But to do what Kevin Durant does at his size and frankly his thin body frame, it is pretty unbelievable. Gifted is such a weird word, and that's what throws the monkey wrench into the whole thing. Is gifted. It's like, well, I don't know.
It makes you step on your tongue a minute.
Did God give Kevin Durant more than he gave Michael Jordan? I don't know. I don't know. You can argue. I'll say this much. I dismissed it out of hand initially, and then I'll just say you can argue it that his gifts. But you know what? I can also say that Jeff George is the most gifted quarterback to ever come through the NFL.
Right.
But he's not. He doesn't even rank on like top 50 quarterbacks of all time. So
top 150 of all time.
So it's an interesting choice of words. Because if you asked anybody, is Kevin Durant a top 10 player of all time? he's kind of on the cusp, right? Like, I can name 10 players that I would pick before Kevin Durant. So then, but is he the most gifted of all time? Okay, maybe. I suppose you can argue the gifted part is what I'm saying.
Well, what's Steve Kerr landing on pretty thick? What's he wants him back? He wants him back in Golden State?
I think Steve Kerr wrote a book or was part of a book that talked about it, and
of course he did.
Yeah. It just was an interesting thing, which I dismissed out of hand initially, but I was like, all right, you want to talk about gifted? I guess you can say gifted. He's gifted. Anyway, so we have 2 series going on. I just want to finish with this. The Suns have taken a 2-0 lead without CP3. He comes back tonight or tomorrow.
Tonight.
Is it tonight?
Yes,
and Atlanta has a 1-0 lead. They got one more game in Milwaukee. The Phoenix series is heading to LA. What are we looking at? What do you see for the next week? Because we won't be back. One of these series is likely to be over by the next time we do a podcast. What are your predictions for these 2 series?
I think Suns in 5, Milwaukee in 6.
I think Suns in 5 is very fair. I think Milwaukee in 7.
Kawhi's not coming back.
I think you would have heard some grumblings about him coming back by now, which is
right.
God, amazing. But I think we just had this whole discussion about Trae Young, and we're still picking Milwaukee.
I know we're idiots, though.
I just think it's hard to have a 5'11" guy as your number one go-to guy.
And dude, is the kid out of gas at some point yet? Like,
he doesn't look it. He certainly doesn't look it. It's freaking crazy.
Hey, one thing before we jump off the NBA, I want to add one thing to you about Devin Booker. Dude, this guy's incredible to me.
He's incredible. He's got a little nastiness to him too.
Dude, he was like the 7th man off Kentucky's bench, and now he's he's phenomenal.
I know. He was only a freshman though, for Christ's sake.
Listen, but what's college basketball now?
Well, I know, but they had about 4 other freshmen that also got drafted that same year. That was a crazy year for Kentucky.
3 of them are selling insurance right now.
They might be. You might be right about that. I wanted to ask you a question because it came up in the NBA games. It always comes up in NFL. Instant replay in sports came up the other night in the Phoenix Suns game a couple times, actually, a play with Devin Booker, and then the last play of the game on the alley-oop dunk on the out-of-bounds play. You know, you got these, especially in basketball, momentum is such a big part of the game. What are your thoughts on instant replay? We always look at progress. Progress is inevitable, but we automatically assume that progress is good. And the reality is progress is not always good. So I'm just asking you, what are your thoughts about instant replay?
This is a tough question to answer because I think there's a lot to it, and I think it varies between the sports. Football started this. We got to be going 15 years ago now. Maybe not. Maybe 15 is a little strong, but
it's been a while.
They got it down pretty well. I think they do it right. They time it and they go to a distant location, have other people look at it, and they kind of talk and listen as other people are talking and listen into that little screen they got. They put the curtain over his head. They got it pretty down pretty good, except when you're talking about the Saints-Rams pass interference call.
Well, this is like my problem is the goal is to get the calls right,
and
they're still not always getting the calls.
I know, and in baseball. I know you want to talk about the basketball replay. I'm getting there, but the baseball,
all of it, all the sports.
The baseball replay to me, and we've talked about baseball obviously for weeks with the Yankees. They want to speed up the games. Well, replay is not slow. Replay is not speeding anything up. I mean, Jesus Christ! And the reason why they put in replay is because that kid with the perfect game for the Tigers years back, and they got that like that call. That needs to be replayed. We can't replay every little thing.
To me, replay needs to disappear in Major League Baseball. Like it just needs to disappear. It's just too slow a sport as it is. Now you're just slowing it down even more.
It's gonna get worse, dude. It's gonna get worse.
I hate to give credit to this guy, but on this particular instance, I agree with him wholeheartedly. Colin Cowherd mentioned something because they were talking about it. He was talking about Ryan Russillo. Russillo is just against. He's just deadly against instant replay of any sort. Human error, part of the game. Players make errors. Umpires and umpires and referees should be allowed to make errors. It just should be part of the way it goes. I don't know that I want to go that far, but how about we reel it in like this? And this was Cowherd's idea. It's just an umbrella. He calls it an umbrella replay. So anything can be replayed. So this would be more for NBA and NFL. Okay. Major League Baseball, to me, you should get rid of replay. You should just get rid of replay. It's horrible. But for NBA and NFL, we have restrictions on what can and can't be replayed. Bail on that. Anything can be replayed, but only by a coach's challenge, only in the last 5 minutes of the half in the game. And the coaches have one challenge per game, right? Or 2 challenges per game. We can debate the number, but that's minutia. But anything you want to challenge a holding call, you can challenge a holding call. And then you have 1 minute. Under the hood, there's 1 minute. And the reason there should be, and you could even make an argument that it should be like 30 seconds, because 30 seconds is actually much longer than you think. It should only be for egregious calls. So if it's just blatantly obvious, you don't even need 30 seconds. You know what? Let's make it 30 seconds. But you don't even need 30 seconds. You know in 10 seconds, oh, come on, we blew that one. Let's fix it. Done. If it takes you more than 30 seconds, the play stands, and that's the end of that, dude, because it's just not that obvious. It should only be for plays that are obvious. It should be very limited, and it should be limited to the points in the game when it matters the most. And it should, we should stop limiting what it can be. You could do pass interference. You could do a holding call. You could do a friggin' field goal if you want. Like, it could be anything, but it should be the last 5 minutes of the half and the game. Now that part I made up, not Cowherd. I think he said last 2 minutes, but that's last 5 minutes, the half and the game. 1 challenge for each from coaches. If you don't use your first half one, you lose it. Like, whatever. If you didn't need it, you didn't need it. You have 1 in the last 5 minutes of the game, and that's it. And it can challenge anything, and it has to be 30 seconds or less. End of story. Like, stop. It's awful. It's too much.
So I kind of disagree with you a little bit, because I think a call in the beginning of a game could turn a whole game too. Like, I
understand, but you have time to recover from that.
Yeah, I hear you. I know.
We all look at, like, you mentioned that play with New Orleans
and the Rams with the pass interference.
That was at the end of the game.
And it was a playoff game.
Yeah, you think about the call with what was his name? The receiver for the Cowboys against Green Bay. I know. Was it Des Bryant? The reason you remember that is because it was near the end of the game. Yeah. It was an important play near the end of the game. Dallas was driving. Like, you think of all the plays you recall that needed to be reviewed. They're all either at the end of the half or the end of the game.
I hear you. No, I hear. I'm just
because if it wasn't, you still had time to win the game.
I get it.
You had opportunities.
That makes sense.
We're just trying to limit it because
there's got to be. But with speeding up the games too, there's got to be a way like these refs that are in like the locations, New York or LA or wherever they are.
Yeah.
Buzz down, and something's wrong. And let's fix it quick. Because you said the ultimate thing is get the play right. So,
yes, but it should be only on egregious, like we botched this one. Like, that's why the 30-second rule should be in place. Because if you can't figure it out within 30 seconds, then it was too close a call.
The screen goes black.
It wasn't obvious.
Yeah, and
it should only be on the really obvious. The ones where even the dummies at home or 20 beers into a 30-pack of Busch Light, they can make the call. Okay? That's how
I got family members that love Busch Light.
Listen, Keystone, whatever, Meister Chow, whatever you're drinking these days. But those are the plays that we should be using instant replay on. Not on everything. It just gets ridiculous, and it kills momentum, and it just kills the spirit of the game. And now you got to work yourself up back into a lather. It should take 30 seconds. It really shouldn't even. It should take 10 seconds. We all know. If we have to, dude, how many times have you gone a little closer to your TV? I can't say. If you have to squint, then you don't get to change it. It's just that's it. These guys are making these plays with football players going 150 miles an hour, and you're squinting on your 1080p television to see if it's the right call. Give me a break. Just move along. Move along.
But when the NFL brought the replay in, I thought it was supposed to be 30 seconds, and then it was clipped. And then were there 3 minutes? My God.
Then they moved it, and then again, I'm not even blaming the leagues because I get why they do some of the things they do. For example, in the last 2 minutes of a game, the league, the referees, whatever, the replay booth can choose any play to go review on their own. I get it, because you don't want a team to have run out of challenges and then there's an egregious play and you can't change it. Right? Yep. So I get why they did it. It just sucks because now they replay like every fucking play at the end of a game. It's like, you can't keep doing that, man. So,
well, the NBA game yesterday, or there was the Suns, was it like 30 minutes?
Oh, the momentum killer. It's just brutal. These guys are like on the sidelines riding a bike to keep their sweat.
And then you're rewarding teams that are no timeouts with a timeout.
Get a timeout. Oh. So that should change. You should have to stay on the court, no contact with your coach during a replay.
You got to go to a phone booth.
But if it takes that much time, it should just be like, no, we couldn't decide. And it should be like, it shouldn't be up to the referees. It should be automatic. Like there should be some kind of like kill switch. There should be a kill switch on the screen at 30 seconds. Boom, it just goes black. And if you're like, I couldn't decide, then it's done. Like that's it. Like it's just, listen. And I'm not saying get rid of – I'm not going all the way with Russillo and saying get rid of replay, because there are some plays that are just so bad, the call is just so egregious that it should be overturned. But I don't like limiting it to any specific things. Why? Because you don't want to embarrass a referee? Fuck that referee. Like, he made a bad call, he made a bad call. Like, if it's that egregious, then he made a bad call, correct it. But if it ain't correctable in like 10 seconds, move along. Just move along. And it should be only for the last few minutes of the half in the game, because there's no for the team who got the bad call, there's no redemption. Like if there's a bad call 2 minutes into the game, you have plenty of time to overcome that. In the last 5 minutes, you can't really overcome a bad call.
I hear you.
You just don't have the time.
That makes sense.
So that was my thought. I'm not. Listen, I'm a conservative by nature, and all that means is move slowly. Be careful. Don't be so quick to jump. This is what I said about Ben Simmons before. Like, slow down. Now you want to hang the poor guy in town square. Like, okay, let's be real and say there are lots of things that the guy does really, really well. He does this one thing really, really poorly. Can we try to get him to do this one thing a little better? Okay, before we just ship him off for a bag of practice balls. Like,
tarred and feathered by the Rocky stats.
Yeah, for God's sake, slow down a little bit. You know what I mean? I mean, you were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference this year. He was part of that.
But that might fire people even more.
Yeah, well, perhaps it might. Do you want to do the all they are who they are, or do you want to go to the AFC South?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so you know what? Let's do the AFC. I changed my mind. How about that?
Holy shit! Don't want you even ask me.
Screw you. We're done.
Oh my God.
Let's do our AFC South. You know what? We'll blast through this real quick because this is a terrible division anyway. And we have to get to something way more interesting. Tennessee Titans. Big move that they made this year. Obviously, Julio Jones and bringing in Bud Dupree, who wasn't healthy last year, but can get after the quarterback, which is their main problem last year. They lost Jonnu Smith. They lost Corey Davis. They lost Kenny Vaccaro. They did lose some things on defense, and they weren't that great on defense last year as it was.
Right. With a defensive-minded coach.
Yeah.
And they didn't make a lot of other moves coming in, right? Like,
they did not. This is why they're, we talked about Julio Jones when they made the move, and it's like, does it make him that much better? For a team that wants to run the ball, it ran for 2,000 yards. One guy ran for 2,000 yards last year. Julio Jones, the difference now? Really? You sure about that?
What's their over-under?
We'll get to that.
Oh, my bad.
They drafted Caleb Farley, cornerback. Nice pick. Okay. And Dylan Rudens, offensive tackle. I think he's a dude from North Dakota State. North Dakota State. He was the one that like tucked his shirt under had his belly hanging out during Senior Bowl and all that kind of stuff.
No, that was a kid the Broncos drafted.
Oh, okay. I apologize then. So Dylan Rudens, but he definitely was from North Dakota State. I think it was North Dakota State. Caleb Farley, they absolutely could use corner. They needed to shore up the offensive line. I don't know if this kid can start. I mean, he's a second or third round pick, so we'll see. First 5 games of the year for them, It's an interesting start here. They got Arizona at home, at Seattle, home against the Colts, then at the Jets and at Jacksonville. And I'm gonna make a prediction here. I'm not saying who, because then I'll get like, you're a Jets homer. Their season goes based on how that back-to-back at Jets, at Jacksonville. If they lose one of those games, because both of those teams are going to be bad, okay? If they lose one of those games, this team misses the playoffs. I'm just telling you right now. By the 5th game of the season, I can already tell you if they're going to make the playoffs or not, based on the fact that if they lose to either the Jets, at Jacksonville, it is a tough. It's a tough back-to-back week travel against two bad teams.
Then their next 4 or 5 are brutal after that.
Okay, so if they lose one of those games, and that's not even talking about the first 3, which are tough.
Yeah.
Okay, you're expecting Arizona to be improved. We think Seattle, we know Seattle's already a pretty good team, and that game's in Seattle, and there will be fans.
Yep, I was just going to say that.
You know what I'm saying? And Colts with Carson Wentz, he'll at that point he'll have had 2 full starts against NFL caliber defenses under his belt. They don't exactly get a lot of pressure on a quarterback as it is.
Right.
This is a heck of a start, and I'm just telling you, if they lose one of those Jets-Jacksonville games, this team's going to miss the playoffs. Okay?
Yeah, and I just want to point out, like you said, they play the NFC West and the AFC East.
Okay. And so you have their next couple games after that?
Yeah, so after Jacksonville, at Jacksonville, so week 6, Buffalo home. Week 7, KC home. Week 8, at Indy. Week 9, at Rams. Week 10, Saints home.
Dude.
I know. I know.
That's a tough start.
Woo!
That's a tough start. I should have looked ahead on the schedule when I did my over and under. The over and under. I may adjust this on the fly.
All righty.
Oh, my God. I may adjust this on the fly. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. The over and under for Tennessee Titans, 9.5. That's looking like an incredibly sharp number.
Wow.
Okay, number 2, I got Houston Texans. Oh, man. Dude, the reality is they had very few even like mentionable additions in the offseason, but they lost J.J. Watt. They lost Will Fuller. And I don't know, are they kind of losing Deshaun Watson? I don't know what's going to happen there.
Dude, and they had no draft either.
Well, I was just going to get that. Dude, their first pick of the draft, the first pick of the draft was in the 3rd round.
Was it Nico Collins?
No, it was Davis Mills, quarterback.
And then they took Nico.
They had to draft a quarterback, and it wasn't until the 3rd round, which was so in the first 3 rounds, they didn't really get to improve their team. They had to draft a future quarterback. So, and then they drafted, Nico Collins from Michigan was their next pick. And I only wrote that because you're a Michigan guy. I don't even know. Nico Collins, okay. Was he a wide receiver?
Wide receiver, yeah.
Yeah, he sat out last year. The more I look at this team,
they have a new unknown coaching staff. I don't know this guy from Adam.
Now he's been in the league for a long time. Yeah, but I don't know that he was ever even really a candidate for a head coaching position before. Never mind, get a hood. I don't even think he was a candidate.
Good God.
I'm rooting for him because everybody's against him, so I'm rooting for him because
I don't know if everyone's against him. I think just people are
not against him, against Houston because of the media is against Houston because media is now always on the players' sides, regardless.
Yeah.
Because what did I tell you? I've told you this so many times. They want access. Access to them is more important than getting the story right. So
yep.
Their schedule, they start off home against Jacksonville, at Cleveland, home against Carolina, at Buffalo, no. At home against New England, no.
At the Colts, no.
Listen, no. You're going to have a pretty good idea right out of the box. They play Jacksonville at home. If they lose that game,
it might be murder, she wrote.
Oh, my goodness. Over and under for Houston Texans, 5. Over and under is 5. How about them Jacksonville Jaguars? Picked up cornerback Shaquille Griffin. Picked up Marvin Jones. Nice pickup for a rookie quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, who they drafted. They did lose Keelan Cole. Most of us would say not that big a deal. The Jets were the ones who picked them up for some spare change. But he is young. He is up and coming. And it is a target. who has some speed, who isn't there anymore. But that was about it on their pickups. Now they did draft Trevor Lawrence, of course, Etienne from Clemson also, and Walker Little, who was, I believe, a tackle from Stanford, who has played, apropos, very little, but was come on, I got him in my bag. But was like an all-conference player as a freshman or a sophomore before the pandemic, before blowing out his knee. Like, was very impressive, young, but didn't play the last 2 years. It's a heck of a guy to pick that didn't play for. We talked about guys, they're going to be rusty after not playing for 1 year.
Right.
This fucker hasn't played for 2 years, for Christ's sake. Yeah, let's get him.
So you mentioned drafted Trevor Lawrence. They gave him help with Marvin Jones. They drafted ETN. They got DJ Shark, who's a good player there. Laviska Shenault from Colorado.
Yes.
He's in his second year. He's
had a good
player.
year last year. Yeah.
I like him.
Yep.
Good run game.
Pretty good.
With Robinson there and ETN, they want to make him a wide receiver. But I'm sure he's gonna get a lot of.
I think they're just getting him work. I really.
Yeah, I agree.
I also think with the oh my God, the guy they brought in for tight end.
Mr. Tebow?
Yeah, Tim Tebow. I think who's the coach?
Mr. Urban Meyer.
Yeah, I think Urban Meyer
How much rock is in that glass?
Apparently too much. I think Urban Meyer is kind of turning the screws on the media a little bit. Tim Tebow was there like 3 days, and Urban Meyer goes, maybe we'll use him as like a wildcat quarterback. I'm like, oh, dude, he's just giving him the business. I friggin' love it. But it's okay. Let's get to their schedule anyway. I think some of the things he does, I think he likes to tweak the media a little bit. I think the Etienne thing was we're going to get him to be an even better receiver out of the backfield by training him like a receiver. Yeah. I don't think they're going to make him a fucking receiver. I don't think you make a second-round pick as a receiver.
Anybody who knows football
or first-round pick. Yeah, come on, slow down. Schedule at Houston. For a young team that's expected to have a poor record, that's a great game to have.
Dude, they should make that a Monday night game.
Oh my goodness, it's a great game. But then they're home against Denver. I don't see it happening. They're home against Arizona. Going to be tough. They go at the Bengals. I think the Bengals are much improved this year. And then they're home against Tennessee. I'm looking at a 1-4 start for them. I'm really looking at a 1-4 start.
Yeah, I got it. I got the same.
I think that's problematic. All right, and we got the Colts. Obviously, the biggest signing for them in the offseason was adding Carson Wentz. What that looks like, I love the signing. I think they get him cheap. I don't think they gave up a lot. But the reality is we don't know what they're getting. They don't know what they're getting. They think they know what they're getting. They hope what they're getting, but they don't know what they're getting. This is like, to me, this is similar, not the same, but similar to Sam Darnold in Carolina. You think you know what you're getting, and both guys are clearly going to better situations. Like Carson Wentz is clearly in a better, like just surrounded by so much more talent with the Colts. Sam Darnold clearly surrounded by more talent, better coaching. Like everything looks better for both of these guys. That's what I mean by similar. The Wentz is way more accomplished than Sam Darnold, but I just mean they're going from poor situations to pretty good-looking situations.
Yeah, sir.
And both have question marks. Like for both of those guys, and frankly for both of them. No, I'm sorry. Let's talk about something else. I was going to say, I heard going back to Jacksonville, I heard that Trevor Lawrence was a little iffy, a little shaky at times. I don't want to read anything into that. Listen, he's a rookie, totally new environment, totally new atmosphere, but he was shaky. I heard the same thing about Sam Darnold. That's where I was going with that. I heard some shaky practices. Some of the things we were concerned about.
You can't even hide your smile.
It makes me a little. Well, no, it makes me a little sad. It makes me happy because it makes it look like the Jets made the right move, but it makes me sad because I like Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of rooting for him. Other than Wentz, Colts really didn't add a lot, or not much to mention about what they added to the team.
No, they drafted Kwity Paye.
More losses. Yeah, Kwity Paye. Who else? You say it.
I don't know.
Odingo. Both guys, edge rushers. Well, that was their second round pick. Their first two pick, they took edge rushers.
Which is what they needed, which was their weakness last year.
It was. The one thing that concerns me about their offseason, they lost Costanzo to retirement, and they really didn't replace him with a big-time left tackle. And he really didn't address it in the draft either, interestingly enough, like at all. Schedule-wise, they are home against Seattle, home against the Rams, at Tennessee, at the Dolphins, at Baltimore. That is a hell of a start to the season.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if they come out of that 3-2,
that's a win. Yeah,
with a quarterback in his first year in a relatively new system, or maybe it's not a new system for him because it's Frank Reich's system, but it's with new players, new atmosphere, new surroundings, and 3 straight road games against the Dolphins weren't a playoff team, but they were a 10-win team. That is something else. 4 out of 5 of those teams were playoff teams last year. That's something else.
And Miami was right there.
That's what I'm saying. Miami was a 10-win team.
Yeah.
So that's a hell of a start.
Wow.
Over and under for the Colts, 10. All right, good. You're satisfied with my
I like it.
With my summation. Who do you have at number 4 in the conference?
I got nothing much to add to that. Yeah, they got a pretty good run game too. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's good, but let's see if the left tackle.
They're a very complete team.
Yeah,
they're a very complete team.
For 4th place, I have the Houston Texans at 3-14.
You son of a bitch! Exactly the same. Next, 3 might be high, by the way.
I know. I was just getting nervous on that.
I'm like, 3.
In 3rd place, I have the Jaguars at 6-11.
Okay, I gave him 5 and 12. I have him in 3rd also. Ooh,
gotcha.
I got a fly attacking me.
Take a shower.
Jeez.
In 2nd place, I have the Tennessee Titans.
So do I.
At 10-7.
As do I. Impressive. All right.
Alrighty.
We did not talk about this.
And in 1st place, obviously, we have the Colts, and I have them at 12-5.
Okay, you give them a little more credit than I do. That start to the season to me is tough.
Yeah.
Especially for a Carson Wentz who's kind of a mental case. It's a hell of a way to start the season. But I am a believer in Frank Reich. I am a believer in that organization, the GM. I believe that team is one of the 3 most complete teams in the league, especially now that they got Carson Wentz. I gave him 11 wins. I got 11-6. I just think it's a tough start.
I got you. Yep.
It's a weird thing to talk about now when we talk about like wins and losses and what's a successful season. Like last year and previous years, 10-6 was a winning season, but you could miss the playoffs at 10-6, a la we just mentioned Dolphins. So like is 11-6 a really good season? Or is like 12-5 the standard bearer for playoffs? Like you're guaranteed a playoff spot if you're 12-5.
You got it.
It's just hard.
You got to think 11-6 is a good season, dude. Like I mean,
but is it?
We'll find out.
Well, I mean, was 10-6 a good season? If 10-6 was a good season, then 11-6 is a good season, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, but 10-6 previous years, 10-6 doesn't guarantee you the playoffs.
I think your argument more now is 10-7 a good season.
I guess it depends on who you are, right?
Yeah, I mean,
if you were 8-8 last year, 10-7 is good.
Well, what the Redskins, or excuse me, the Washington football team win division last year, 7-9.
Yeah.
So it
they
depends
go 10-7.
It depends on your year. You just never know.
I suppose you're right. It depends on where you're coming from. I guess it does matter. Yeah, it's interesting because we think of the Titans as a playoff team. We both have them going 10-7, and that's like right on the cusp. Man, if you can miss the playoffs at 10-6, you certainly miss the playoffs at 10-7.
Especially in the AFC, man.
I mean, it certainly matters how the rest of the league goes and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, that's interesting. I think it's going to take all of us at least a year, to kind of adjust to like what's a really good season.
Yeah,
obviously you go 13-4, 14-3. Those are tremendous.
Yeah,
but I think you have to, if you want to guarantee yourself a spot in the playoffs, I think you need 12 wins. Right? Because I think 12,
so as far as play,
yeah. I think 12 is the old 12 is the old 11. Like I can't think of a team in history that had 11 wins and didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I can't either.
So like I think 12 guarantees you the playoffs. You're looking for you're looking to say we need 12 to make sure we're in.
I would agree with that.
So, but yeah, a good season is dependent on where you were last year and all that kind of shit. So I came up with this idea because I get frustrated, and I think we all get frustrated with players from time to time who we think have, we have high expectations for them because we see the talent, we see the ability, and we're just waiting for it to like take the next step. And too often it doesn't take the next step. Right. So I call this the all they are who they are team. So Scotty and I came up with like 5 guys, or a basic top 5 of guys. You have a couple grouped also, I think, right?
Yeah, I have a grouping. Yeah.
And this wasn't as easy as I thought because and I also have some recency bias because the NBA is in playoff mode, and so I'm looking at some players and I'm like, these are who are. But I have 1 baseball player, 2 basketball players, 1 football player, and 1 golfer.
So I struggled this a little bit too because I didn't know exactly where you were going to go with this type of thing. So I have like,
it doesn't mean they're bad. It just means they are who they are.
Yeah. I have more like guys that like maybe are a pain in the ass a little bit, or like they didn't live up to the potential, something like that type of thing. So I have 2 NBA, 2 baseball, an honorable mention baseball, and a trio of football.
Oh my. Okay. So my number 5. You might find this interesting, but I think this guy catches a lot of flack. But when you look at his statistics when he plays, he's actually really good. But he's like incessantly hurt, and it's frustrating as shit. But it just is who he is. That's Giancarlo Stanton. So I hear people on talk radio. I'm talking about fans. I'm not going to talk. So this is one time I'm going to say fans. You're actually out of pocket here because you're frustrated because the guy's not always on the field. But the reality is when Giancarlo Stanton is on the field, he's a baller, dude. He hits home runs. He gets RBIs. He actually hits for a decent enough average. Sometimes it's better than other times, but I mean, he's a real player. The frustration comes in is because like you get used to this pretty good player, and then he's on a DL for a month, and you're like, dude, we're counting on you.
Absolutely.
That's the part where it's like, well, that's just who he is. You're gonna, especially Yankee fans, because that contract ain't going nowhere. You're gonna just have to get used to the fact that Giancarlo Stanton is gonna miss a month somewhere along the line in the season, at least. And you just hope he's available for the playoffs because when he plays, he's a hitter. He's a real hitter. He's a real player.
Last year he raked in the playoffs.
Absolutely. No, he's a baller. It's just he's not always available, and that's frustrating. But that is who he is.
So my honorable mention, I'll give you real quick. Same team, Gary Sanchez, but now he's starting to come alive a little bit, and I want to kind of leave him alone because
he's jamming that right up your ass.
Yeah. So, which is fine. I'll take it.
I actually think it's a good example. This kind of is who he is, dude. This is who he is.
Yeah, he's kind of the same thing. He's going to miss some time. He's a terrible catcher, but when he's locked and loaded, Jesus, like now you can't get him out. Like it's incredible. Yeah. But I'll go. Yoenis Cespedes to me is a guy that's a pain in the ass. He's one of those guys like Aaron Hicks. He'd rather play golf than play baseball. He got hurt on a ranch a couple years ago. He fell off a horse or something and kind of hit that. And he's wanted trades. And I think the Mets, was it last year, the year before, they just told him he didn't show up to a game. They thought he got kidnapped.
Oh, no call, no show, no call.
And he's insane. The year they made the playoffs in the World Series a couple years back, he was incredible.
Yeah.
Him and the second baseman, I forgot, Todd Walker Danny Murphy. They carried him. They were incredible. But I just think it's a guy, and I think he's older now, and I think he's out of baseball, or at least out of baseball in the United States. Just to never reach his potential because he came in hot.
Okay. Gotcha. You mentioned an honorable mention, so I have an honorable mention for you.
Go ahead.
And, he didn't make my list because I think he's just like, I've mentioned him as being really good. This is Lamar Jackson. I think he's one of the hardest working guys in the league. I don't think anybody's outworking him, and he's just lightning in a bottle. He's fascinating to watch. He is must-watch TV because he could do things that literally nobody else can do. But he's limited. The reality is he's limited, and when you come to the playoffs, and now you're going to have expanded playoffs, you come to the playoffs as a quarterback, this league's rules are set up for passing the ball. And in close games or when they're behind and he has to throw the ball, I'm not counting on him. With that said, as I've said to you, I guess I'll adjust the number to 11. I don't think as long as he's quarterback, or I'll say for at least the next 5-6 years, as long as he can run the way he does, I can't see them losing less than 11, winning less than 11 games, because I just don't think there's enough teams in the league that can handle what he's capable of doing.
I know
he's not an incompetent passer, but I just don't think he's even like top 20. I don't even know if he's. People looked at his statistics and they're like, well, his statistics are. That's because they run the shit out of the ball, dude. Right. And he's such a threat as a runner that you have to protect against that, which opened things up, which is absolutely part of the game. I'm just saying at the end of a game when you know they have to throw the ball, dude, there's probably no one else in the league that you wouldn't want instead of him. And you have to throw the ball. He's a liability.
Right.
With that said, he's explosive, and they're never going to win less than 11 games. And my point is, that's just who he is. This is who he is. Like, just accept it. But if you're a Baltimore fan, understand you're always going to win a lot of games, which is awesome, right? Like, you're always going to win a lot of games, but you're probably not going to win a Super Bowl. That's just is what it is. So that was an honorable mention for me.
I got you.
All right, so my number 4 on this list, playing in the NBA right now, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He just is who he is, dude. Like, stop trying to make him into something other than what he is. He's a 6'10", athletic freakazoid. We want him to shoot threes because that's the league. They won the series against the Nets because in Game 7 he chose not to hoist a bunch. I think he took 3, made 1. Yeah. It was a big one.
A bank shot too.
Yeah. But what he did do was take the ball to the basket. He's 6'10", 6'11", can put the ball on the floor, and is an amazing athlete, almost unguardable when taking the ball to the hole. Super explosive. But that's who he is. He's a sometimes back to the basket, the rest of the time drive the ball to the hole kind of player. You just look at his form and you look at the way he shoots. He's never going to be a really competent three-point shooter. Enough to where you have to guard him, like we were mentioning about Ben Simmons before, but he's never going to be, even like a Jokic. Like, he's never going to be that good of a shooter. It just is who he is. What you need to do is build around him. You need to put shooters around him so that he doesn't have to shoot so much.
Yeah, and they're trying.
And again, that's why this list is an interesting kind of list. We're not talking about shit players. We're talking about pretty damn good players.
Yeah.
But they're the kind of players that never took that next step that we all kind of were hoping that they were going to take.
Right.
How many times do we hear in the first few years of Giannis's career, like, oh, he's not even as good as he's going to be yet. He's kind of who he is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to become a shooter. He's going to no, he's kind of who he is. This is kind of who he is. That's it. And that's okay. It's pretty damn good. It's just not that next thing.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. I got you. So number 4 for me is Trevor Bauer.
Baseball.
Pitcher for the Dodgers. Excuse me. So another guy that has a big fucking mouth, and he gets paid a lot of money, and I just don't see the attraction on this guy. He's throwing everyone under the bus. He played college baseball with Garrett Cole. He can't stand him. Dude, mind your own business at this point. Like, let him pitch, you pitch. You're getting paid a lot of money in LA. You joined the World Series team, and just enjoy it, pitch, and do your thing. Got out of Cleveland, and forced his way out of Cleveland. I think he won a Cy Young with the Reds last year in the short year, or maybe 2 years ago. I'm not sure on that. But another guy that just not that he's not living up to his potential. I just sick of hearing about it.
Okay,
like, just shut up already. You know what I mean? Like, dude,
of course.
Just shut up. Like, just shut up. Pitch for the World Series champs, and shut up. Leave Garrett Cole alone. Leave all these other guys alone, and shut up.
I had to reload.
Nothing wrong with that.
I had to reload. I'm talking so much.
Parched.
I like that one. My third is I'm heading to the NFL here, and again, good player. I'm even going to go as far as saying this guy might be a little underrated, but he's underrated because he is who he is, which is interesting because statistically he's fantastic. Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins to me just kind of is who he is. I mean, statistically, he's fantastic. He's statistically one of the top 10 or 12 quarterbacks in the league. The problem is his record on Monday night. I think he's got 1 or no wins, but I think he finally got 1 last year.
I think he did.
Yeah. Sunday night NFL game of the week. He's can't win a game. Playoffs just crumbles. He just doesn't come up in big spots. kind of a weak leader. You know how much of a problem I have with the fact that Jefferson, is his first name Jordan? No. Justin Jefferson, whatever, the receiver who is fantastic. Here's how much Jefferson respects Kirk Cousins. He was interviewed on Fox Sports 1, and he was talking about how awesome Justin Fields was and how great it would have been to have drafted him because, sooner or later we're getting off of Kirk. You move on from your current quarterback. And it's like, wow. What guy could talk about their current quarterback like that?
Second year in the league.
You would have been buried in the locker room if you talked about me like that while I'm actually the starter. Yeah. And meanwhile, it's just like brushed off. Kirk Cousins statistically is an excellent quarterback. He continues. Has anybody done a better job of raking in the cash as a slightly above average quarterback in the NFL? No. Nope. He bet on himself and has won big time. But the reality is you're not going to win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. And frankly, maybe he's in the best spot for that. The expectations in Minnesota are just like a step lower than they are in other places. They win a lot of games. Last year they didn't, but it wasn't because of him last year. He did just fine last year. They had a terrible defense last year.
Yep.
But, is he championship quarterback? I don't see it at all.
No
Lamar
way.
Jackson
No
isn't.
way.
Kirk Cousins definitely isn't. He's just not a big game quarterback, but he wins you a lot of games, keeps you competitive, puts up awesome stats. But that's it. And he just is who he is.
How many times has he made the playoffs in Minnesota? Twice?
I think twice.
Well, one of them was the kid that went to the Broncos from Houston, right? With the Minnesota Miracle.
Right. That was not Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, that wasn't Kirk Cousins. So I think just once.
Yeah, maybe once.
Wow. Yeah. But he's rich.
Oh, just like way more than he should be.
So, number 3 on my list, I think you're going to like this one. It's a group effort.
Oh.
So
I
have the old Killer Bees in Pittsburgh, Big Ben, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell.
Oh. No Super Bowls.
Right.
They didn't even have any AFC championships, if I'm correct, right?
Nope. They kept losing to the Broncos and the Patriots and the Ravens and whoever else. So Ben has his 2 Super Bowls, but with this 3 trio, everyone thought that they were going to ride into the sunset with 4. Tomlin, everyone's going to – and my brother, Mr. Stavali, Richie DeVille, you mentioned before. All big Steeler fans in our lives. And that's a big disappointment, my friend. And you want
sure.
and many reasons. Ben's a pain in the ass.
And not just because of them either.
No.
I mean, we talked before earlier about how football is it's the ultimate team sport. So
yeah, and there's also a lot of great legendary teams that are going up against as well.
Yeah.
But when you have
no shame in losing to Tom Brady.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you're losing to Flacco and shit, and you have so many
championship
top 5 defenses, veteran championship quarterback, a great football town, home field advantage. You want to be able to get.
Did they lose to Peyton Manning? Is that when you mentioned Denver? Was it
lost
Peyton
to
Manning?
Brock Osweiler.
That's poor. That's not good. Unacceptable.
So that's my point. Where they did not live up to it is what it is. They are who they are, but they're who they are because Brown's a maniac, Bell's a maniac. Ben's not a great team leader. So to leave.
Did you see what Le'Veon Bell said? It might have been a day. He said, "I wouldn't play for that team if no matter how much they paid me." I'm like. I actually was in my head, I was like, dude, nobody wants you. What are you talking about? It's the ugly chick saying, I wouldn't bang Brad Pitt. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's not on your radar, bro.
Hey, listen, honey, you don't have to shave your legs tonight. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Jesus.
That's incredible.
I like that one because I like the group effort because they were tied together. I like that idea.
Right? That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, they didn't win anything together. So I think they left so much potential out there where they need to be grouped together.
Yeah. No, I like that one. Okay, we're going to continue on mine with the recency bias, of course. But it's recency bias only because his most recent, non-win was very recent. But it's been going on for quite some time. And that's Louis Oosthuizen. We mentioned him earlier today. He's a 6-time runner-up in majors. Now, You can say, hey, he does have a major championship under his belt. Sure, this is true and should not be taken away in any way, shape, or form. He won the Open Championship, I don't know, 10 years ago or maybe a little more than that. But the reality is, do you know how many wins Louis Oosthuizen has on the PGA Tour? You could even put it in a range if you want, like a 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, whatever.
I want to say 0 to 5.
And in that 0 to 5, what would be your guess?
3.
0. He has 0 PGA Tour wins.
Get the hell out of here.
He has 0 PGA Tour wins. 0. Now, we don't care so much. We don't factor that into our Louis Oosthuizen weighing thing. Because he's like, is there anyone in golf that is more often on a leaderboard on a weekend of a major championship than Louis Oosthuizen?
One guy.
Who?
Xander Schauffele. But he's younger. You
know what? I want to look at that. Yeah, I want to look at that. I know he is almost always.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, I mean, Louis Oosthuizen is always on the leaderboard. I mean, it's actually impressive.
I know it is.
Here's a guy who has never won a PGA Tour event and is always. It doesn't. What's really impressive about that? It doesn't matter the championship. If it's the Masters, he's there. If it's the PGA, he's there. If it's the U.S. Open, he's there. If it's the Open Championship in England, he's there.
Yeah, I know.
Like the guy's game fits all styles. All courses, short courses, long courses. He's accurate. So tight courses, wide courses. It doesn't matter. He's so good that he's just always a viable option. But he always is second place, or he's always just. I always say this. He's good enough not to win. Like he's just good enough not to win.
Right.
Like he's just always there, top 5, like top 10 majors. It's incredible. And I'm not trying to bang on a guy because he's a great player. The reality is, you look at my list, I'm not banging on any of these guys. They're all great players. And, other than Kirk Cousins, they're probably all Hall of Famers. Okay.
Yeah.
But, they are who they are is just all these guys are like, are they going to take that next step? And they just don't. And I'm almost saying with this list, stop asking them to. Like, stop asking Louis Oosthuizen to win majors. He's really good at almost winning. He's great at almost winning. He's phenomenal at almost winning. He's just not winning them. I don't know if you heard the commentary. I'm sure you did if you were watching, but like, just bought a farm in Florida.
Yep.
Okay. And they kept saying over and over, he also has a farm in South Africa where he's from. And they kept saying over and over, he's just as happy, if not happier, riding on a John Deere on his farm as he is playing golf. And I don't know. I think that actually says everything you need to know, right? I don't think Phil Mickelson is just as happy drinking margaritas or drinking wine at his winery in California as he is playing golf.
Right.
I think it says a little something as to why he doesn't win as often as he should, frankly. He should, because he's that talented.
So what's that saying? He doesn't put the work in?
I think it's a mental edge. I just think it's a mental edge. And here's what's funny. That lack of mental edge is possibly what keeps him in majors. Because if you look at him, is there anybody calmer?
That's true. I know.
Is there anybody more calm on a golf course in a major than Louis Oosthuizen?
No.
I mean, it looks like he almost could fall asleep. That's how calm he is. And that's frankly why he shoots. He's so comfortable and calm.
When it comes down to it,
you need to fire an extra cylinder, dude. And he just
that's it.
When he do it.
When he went into the snake pit on 17 the other night, he's like, oh yeah. All right,
which is good. It's actually a good trait in golf, but there does need to be that extra gear.
It's kind of one of those things where, like, if you won a couple, nobody would dude, what a good personality he's got, blah, blah. But now that he doesn't have that, it's kind of like a dagger to him.
Yes.
Because, like, Belichick, like, this guy's a dickhead to everyone, but he's got 6 Super Bowls, so it's kind of like he's allowed to do it. But, like, if Saleh did it, you're like, dude, who the fuck is this guy doing? Like,
you're 100% right. If Bill Belichick didn't win, I'll just say 3 Super Bowls with New England.
Right.
I'd be willing to bet there's a good chance he might not even be in the sport anymore because he's such a just like an acidic personality, man. He's just like hard to just be around, like on television and radio.
Yeah.
But because he won, it's like we tolerate anything. Bill Parcells was tough on media, but they loved him because he was a freaking winner.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what I'm saying? Rex Ryan got chewed to pieces. Rex Ryan was basically a modern day, Bill Parcells, personality-wise. But you're a friggin' moron because you never won shit and your quarterback fumbled the ball because of somebody's ass. So, and you have a tattoo of that same dude on your arm. Dummy, right? Oh. Meanwhile, I'm hearing stories today about how Lawrence Taylor would be taking a nap in defensive meetings with Bill Parcells running a meeting.
Yep.
Because he was partying so hard the night before. But nobody gives a shit. Nobody calls out Bill Parcells because they got multiple championships. So anyway, winning does cure all ills, doesn't it?
That's a good one. Louis is a good one. Number 2 for me, we mentioned him before, Mr. Ben Simmons.
I agree. Stop. I think this is a good call. He was going to be another one.
Like you said, stop trying to fix something. Dude, he is what he is.
This is what he is. I think you can improve a little. I think what we talked about. Can he become competent?
Yeah,
can he at least become somebody that they have to guard?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think he can do that. Anybody could do that.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Put the work in the summer, get in the gym, and shoot the goddamn ball. Yeah.
That's all.
And you're number 1, sir. No, I think we hit it all before.
Yeah, we did. We raced on
I don't want to be a dead horse. So
poor Ben Simmons.
I think it just
guy's had a tough week. I gotta say he's had a tough week.
Well, he's got to wear it.
My number 1 is kind of the guy who I was thinking about when I said, all right, there's got to be a list that this guy belongs on, and I had him at number 1. Paul George, just to me,
dude, same here.
Yeah, just to me, this is who he is, dude. He's a really great player. Probably, well, I don't know. He might need a championship to be a Hall of Famer, but he's probably a Hall of Famer.
Dude, the Hall of Fame, the credibility now is shot to shit.
NBA is different.
He doesn't need a championship.
So he's probably a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's got a gold medal. Yeah.
And he's a multiple-time All-Star, and I don't disagree with him being an All-Star. I think he's an All-Star. You know what he is, dude? He's C.J. McCollum. He's
better than him.
Is he?
Yeah, I think so. I know, but
I don't know how much you're watching C.J. McCollum because I'm not watching him. He's who's the guy in Milwaukee right now? The number 2 guy.
Middleton.
Yeah, he's Chris Middleton.
He's better than him too. I think he's better than him too.
But how much? Is he carrying a team? He can't carry a team. Let's just get to the point. Let's just get to the reality. He's an all-star. He cannot carry a team.
Yeah, Collins not carrying a team, and neither's Middleton. Middleton came and helped out at the football.
That's what I'm saying. First of all, Chris Middleton is the reason that they won Game 6. Probably 5 and 6. He's the reason that they won the last series, not Antetokounmpo. Chris Middleton's the reason they won that series. Now, he didn't play great in Game 7, but that's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. These guys are – C.J. McCollum can light it up, but then he can go for 9.
And then, yeah.
That's Paul George. He's really, really good.
All right, let me ask you a question. Do you think he was better before he blew out his knee and broke his leg?
I don't think so.
I know, right? I think he's the same guy.
I think, dude, he was playing in no man's land with the Pacers.
Indiana, yeah.
He was dude, this whole category is
no. I got him number 1 too.
Him.
So
I is who he is.
I'm with you. I got him number 1.
This is who he is. A guy who can light it up for 35 any given night. But so can Middleton. So can C.J. McCollum. I can name other guys that are similar. They're just not. Here's why he's on this list. We keep wanting him to be Kawhi Leonard or Luka Doncic, or you want him to be Dame, or you want him to be, I'm not even saying superstar. I'm trying to think a second tier elite player
Kyrie
Irving. You want him to be, what was the guy in Miami you were just saying?
Jimmy Butler.
You want him to be Jimmy Butler. Even Jimmy Butler comes up small sometimes, but
he does.
We want him to be, we look at him and we're like, that guy has the talent to be a number 1. But he's just not a number 1. Yeah. He's just not. He
is. On our list, he is. God damn it.
Yeah, damn right. So that's our all they are who they are team.
I think
it's a pretty good list.
Yeah, it's good.
And yeah, that was fun. I had a good time with them. But you know, the reality with all those guys is the reason we even like think about it like that is it's frustrating because we see them do.
Yeah,
you know, you can put like
absolutely.
a Jameis. We'll know this year. We'll know this coming season if Jameis Winston belongs on this list because he's that kind of guy who we watch and we're like, God, dude, there's a lot of talent there. And then you just, you know, do something stupid or, you know, have 30 interceptions or. And you're like, God, you know, at some point you just have to say what, you know, guys shows who they are. Players end up, you are who you are. In the end, a lot of times you are who you are. So
yep.
That was fun. Number 22 in the books. A lot of fun.
22.
Good one. 22. Yeah. We have some interesting number 22s. And I have one specifically who I'm going to go into some detail on because I think in the history of the NBA, this guy does not get the recognition that he deserves, and we should go look at his statistics.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Clyde Drexler.
No.
Alrighty.
Moses Malone.
Ah.
Moses Malone was number 22. He's a world champion. They won a championship. Dude, he was the finals MVP. He's a 3-time league MVP.
Yeah, he gets
12-time All-Star. 12 times, and he played for like 20 years. He was one of the first guys to come right out of high school, directly out of high school. He might have been the first, but he was definitely one of the first.
Wow.
Come right out of high school. Won a championship, finals MVP, 3-time league MVP. Dude, LeBron is not a 3-time league MVP. No, seriously.
I know.
Moses Malone, listen, I encourage all of you who listen to this podcast, go check out the stats on Moses Malone. The guy is an all-time great, man. Seriously. But he's only number 5 for me on the list.
Oh, you were breaking a sweat, all that venting, and then you throw a 5er out?
Dude, I was blown away when I saw the info on him. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy gets no credit. Or not enough. He gets not enough.
Well, you kind of threw this one on me real quick. On a 1 to 5, I like it. Now going forward, I'll do 1 to 5.
Just let you don't have to.
So I'll just name a couple of guys. I'll leave the top ones to you. I got Jimmy Butler, Andrew McCutchen, Brett Hull, hockey guy, Jim Palmer.
Palmer was a much better pitcher than people realize. Also,
and then for the top ones that we're probably going to have together, but I want to dedicate this one to one of our favorite sports, college football. A quarterback who wore number 22, Doug Flutie.
Oh,
Boston
I didn't even see him. Yes, very worthy of this episode being dedicated to him for sure. Doug Flutie was Kyler Murray before his time. Like if Doug Flutie played now, Doug Flutie would be an All-Pro. Like I'm sorry, Doug Flutie was good.
Absolutely,
Doug Flutie was good. And we talk about the all they are who they are team. Doug Flutie belongs they are ridiculous and better than we ever thought they were team.
List.
I lost my camera here, so you're just going to have to listen. I have number 4. I have Roger Clemens. Great pitcher. The whole steroid era kind of stuck him a little bit, but whatever. Ricky Henderson, the forgotten skill of stealing bases. Wow, was he amazing. Emmitt Smith, of course, well-deserving of being near the top of the list. But no, where I'm going with this episode, because I can't imagine what it was like growing up as this kid to go through life with this name and then to put it all together and become one of the greatest pitchers in baseball history. Gaylord Perry, number 22, Gaylord Perry, not for what his accomplishments were on a baseball field, which were many, but the fact that he survived a childhood with the name Gaylord. And that's what I have to say about that.
I got 3 more
as I'm in the black.
I got Mike Jack Schmidt.
Mm-hmm.
I got Clyde Drexler, like I mentioned before, and I got the great Clayton Kershaw to wrap up episode.
Is he great?
22. Yeah, he's great.
Clayton Kershaw might belong on the They Are Who They Are list.
No, he's great.
Yeah.
He got his ring. He's great.
Yeah, but how did he do before he got the ring? He was a They Are Who They Are guy.
Well, how did Dirk Nowitzki do? How did Elway do? Come on, dude. There's a lot of them.
What are you talking about? Come on.
I'll see you on the golf course.
I'm Pete Colasano for Scott Bracey. You've been listening to Bump and Run, and we'll see you guys next week.
Later.
I love that.